Boundaries, Doug.
Yeah.
Do you have any? I don't think you do.
Boundaries.
What are those?
How about you have boundaries?
Dude, I got like 9 squirrels in the top of this joint, so they kind of go in circles, so I don't know if there's boundaries up there. I mean, I feel bad, but sometimes I'm just in the moment, I'm like, man, I gotta, it's a lot. And thankfully our team's evolved and there's a lot of people in place now that can run with it, but there's still this oversight that needs to happen until they're really comfortable.
Well, I know there's no boundaries because you'll send me text messages at 4 a.m, 9 p.m.
Sorry about that.
No, I know.
I call it data dumping.
Oh, gosh.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Never in Reverse podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Axel, co-host Doug Cox.
We are here again. Back at
Zen.
You sleepy?
Oh, you tired? You want some sleep?
Oh, you sleepy? No, it's Friday.
Hey, Doug's been on vacation. He went down to Paradise City. Where'd you go?
Palm Springs.
Man, how was it?
It was fun. It was nice. It was nice to get away and just have some time with my wife, after the holidays and all the family, and just time for her and I to just focus on each other. And gosh, we had a great time. It was nice.
Did you get the plane, like celebrate good times? Come on.
Oh yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. No, it was just
theater glasses on. Like,
it's kind of weird. My wife and I will have these moments where it's like, okay, what do you want to talk about? Because we're so used to the kids and the interaction and this and that, and my phone's ringing or text message, whatever, and then, that moment of silence where we're just kind of looking at each other like,
who are you?
What do you want to talk? What do you want to talk about?
Hey, it's sunny.
Yeah,
dude. I think we all go through that stuff, man. Where it's just like you get a breather, and you're like, oh man, I think we gotta.
You said that same weekend, you guys kind of just got out of town for the weekend, and what was it? You're like, on Saturday, I took a nap.
Oh my! We both
remember you telling me that.
Like, I told my kids, I'm like, we're taking a nap, and we all did, man. And we were up in Estes Park and got some fresh mountain air, and it was just lovely.
And then you wake up from a nap and you're going,
another nap. Give me another one.
Yeah.
No, man, I'm glad you're able to get a little reprieve. Yeah. I mean, Doug's reprieves are usually in like 1 or 2 week increments. So, right. So it was like a 14-day or how long?
Geez, I took a half day Friday and then back at it, Monday morning, but
Monday morning. That's pretty standard half day Ray. Right?
Oh, come on. Jeez. And leading up to that, you and I were grinding till like 7, 8 o'clock at night trying to get things organized and just.
Dude, I was grinding last night till 9. I'm like, my kid was sick yesterday and I had
that's hard.
Had to stay home with him and try to do stuff remote and all that stuff. So it was a barn burner, but we're through it, but I think, we'll dive into today's topic, guys. And, this is going to be around something that I was actually thinking about this. This is Doug's worst nightmare. It is his worst nightmare.
It is. I mean, there's a lot of things that hit home in today's topic of the art of saying no.
Doug does not do well with that word.
Can I say no to today's topic?
Oh yeah, no, because just so everyone's prepared, 100% digging into his roots. He might get crying. He might.
Oh, geez. We ain't going to get emotional on saying no. The hard part is I can't say no.
That is like, we'll dive into that. But I think the art of saying no, man, like what a beautiful concept. I think, man, one thing, the art of saying no to increase and enhance yourself. I've been pushing you since you've been here. And just let's step back for a second, viewers, just to give you guys some clarity. Doug and I, we work for an organization called Fluent Conveyors who manufactures conveyors. We haven't really brought you guys into that. And we're going to step back a second so you guys kind of get what we do. So I'm on the
foundations of
I'm on the OEM side and Doug's on the aftermarket side. And we decided that that we needed to bring some humanity back and vulnerability back to the work culture to be humanistic and bring a level of authenticity to I would say social media and just allowing people to be actually who they are. And that foundation means a lot to me. It's actually one of the reasons that this organization exists. And I wanted people to be able to be themselves. It was
It's
something
part
that,
of our culture. Yeah.
yeah, just be real, and that's okay. And I just, and it's okay that you're not perfect, and it's okay not to be okay, right? Like I'm one of those guys. I'm not. It's not. So I just want the viewers to understand. We do work for an organization called Fluent Conveyors. This is a secondary subset brand that's standing on its own, and the goal is just to reach an authentic audience that just
Where
can
we
get
can just
real.
share
Yep.
some things. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, but let's dive back, Doug, into the art of saying no, man. One thing of saying no to enhance. Oh, here we go. See hear the deep breaths,
Deep
guys.
breath.
That's because we're gonna get in there.
Ooh. Oh, we're digging today. We're
Oh,
digging.
buddy, I got my shovel out, dude. I got my tool set over here.
Yeah.
But no, the art of saying no, man, to increase your awareness of goals and where you're heading, right? Like, I'll be honest with you. I've been pushing you so heavily on very simplistic things to say
Mm-hmm.
no and
Mm-hmm.
show you that the light is better when you do that. And it's finally coming to
Well,
fruition.
and it takes time to resonate and resonate in this industry, right? Because we can't be everything to everybody. And when I first started, and this is my excuse
Exactly.
wholeheartedly, right?
Yep.
So, but you don't know what you don't know, if that makes sense. And
So
and
what about
start
though? Let's just hold on. That's great. So what happens when someone tells you what they know and you don't follow?
then you have problems.
Well,
Then you have
that's what you did for a long time.
but I'm going to tell, and you are the worst teacher in the world.
Doug, say no. I know, but X. I know, but right.
Yeah, but and when I started, we had a lot going on. You were getting tugged and pulled many different directions. You
Yep.
had a bunch of big projects that were hitting the finish line, and there wasn't a lot of, I'm going to call it, delicate time to understand where we needed to fit within the silo with the aftermarket parts. So, I'm chasing these little things that really
Mm-hmm.
weren't in our purview or in our core competencies of what we sell or what we support,
Mm-hmm.
unbeknownst to me, right? But I knew over time, in getting educated on really what is important for us, where we support and where we align with these customers in this fashion,
Mm-hmm.
where it makes the most sense, because you can't be an inch deep and a mile wide and no traction chasing squirrels, right? And I mean, and that's where I was in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's maturity, right? It's just maturity in a different product set, in a different environment. I came from, you know a telecommunications world and heavy equipment prior to that. It was different.
Mm-hmm.
And then in a management role, where I was in a leadership role in my prior organization I worked for. So, to my excuse here, jumping in and getting familiar with the product sets and really where we align and support, customers,
Mm-hmm.
I had to figure out where those guardrails are.
Yeah, but let's step
And
back. Let's take the environment of the work culture out, and I think we need to focus on the authentic, like your ability inside of yourself, and the greatness of not being able to say no, but then the limitations, and I think what you need to focus on is, and I want you to think about is, the art of saying no is going to increase your awareness. It's going to increase your efficiency internally of yourself outside of day to day work. But
mhm.
what do you think, if you, I mean, in a perfect world, saying no, what that would do for you is you keep evolving in that, increasing efficiencies, increasing our team efficiencies, increasing your family efficiencies, like all that stuff, right? Versus overcommitting and burning out.
And I struggle with that,
Oh yeah, you
even
do.
even at work and at home,
Yeah.
because there's just something inside me that doesn't want to let somebody down. My dad always says this. He goes, you're too much of a people pleaser, and he
Mm-hmm.
goes, you need to be able to set some boundaries for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times, and I've done it, where you commit to doing things knowing it's hard to say no, but you don't have the time, and you wholeheartedly can't commit to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then what does that create? That creates stress, it creates anxiety, and then what does it do? It takes time away from, friends, family, whatever it may be. So, and I have gotten better at, you know these guardrails, right? It's still a work in progress. It probably always will be.
Maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but it's probably been the first time in terms of being somewhere from a day to day work is what do I tell you the best answer is?
What is
No.
no? Well,
I tell you every time, no, I mean, think about it, man. I've told you for so long the best answer that you need to be able to live with is telling someone no. And because when we do that,
Yeah.
I have, because I
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and you in the last actually 30 days, I watched you evolve, and I'm watching you take command with that. And I'm actually really proud of you, because it is a
Oh,
really hard
thank
thing
you,
for,
Jeremy. I
no,
really
but it's a hard,
appreciate that.
well, to be honest with you guys, it's really hard for Doug to do that. I've seen you, Doug, for so many years. And I'm like, man, I'm watching you actually lean into that. I'm like, and because you know what I say, good job. What do I
Yeah,
tell you? Good
yeah,
job.
and I've gotten a better understanding of where things align with us. It's been here now a few years, and really get
Yep.
a what we do as an organization from the OEM side, your side,
Mm-hmm.
and then the aftermarket side, and the replacement belts and parts,
Mm-hmm.
and there's only so much time in a workday, right? So what's that time money value worth, right? Not only to yourself, but to the organization.
But I think, Doug, I think it comes down to something like you and I, because I'll be honest with you, when we started, I was chasing. You'd laugh at what I chased, and it was the fear of, to me, it was an internal. It has nothing to do with this. It actually has all to do with yourself and myself. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with where we're at, right? I was a limiting belief. I was fearful of there wasn't enough, because I grew up in that mindset that there's not enough money. There's
Every
not
nickel
enough.
counts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, and when you're starting out, that's actually really true. But you can't. When we've evolved, I've tried to relay the information so that we don't jump off where I started through all that. But it's hard. You got to learn on your own. I'm watching you
You
go.
do.
You're
You got to
finally
take the
taking command. You're like, hey man, go here, or and that hopefully will start bleeding in your life, because that when you do that, and I'm sure this is probably the first time that you've been able to, with own authority and approval, because most organizations will just, why didn't you call my, they'll write you about, because it's not a
yeah,
good for what we do.
it's not a good fit.
But some
It's not
companies think everything's a good fit.
exactly, and it's all, but most importantly, the measuring stick's the dollar, right? And that's how a lot of organizations look at it. And if a good salesperson, a good one will understand
Mm-hmm.
what their worth is, right? What their worth is an hour, a day, and what they can generate in revenue, which then results back in an income to a lifestyle they want to live, right? Now, in an organization, is that the right vehicle to get you to where
Mm-hmm.
you want to be? But a lot of times, and I've seen it where, well, why didn't we go after that deal? Well, that deal didn't align with us. Well, why? Well,
Been
why?
there.
We're leaving money on the table. No, 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 no. I could go chase $50 or I could go chase 250. What's a better position for the organization, and where does that $250 customer align with us in support, customer
Mm-hmm.
service, and greater revenue opportunity?
Because it doesn't even matter, honestly. What my view is, the revenue doesn't matter. It doesn't. That's not what it's about. To me, it's what is the experience for the consumer?
Mm-hmm.
What is the experience for the outside world? Because if it's good out there and bad internally, that's a disconnect of the truth, right? It doesn't align, because
Well, and
you're saying, yeah,
eventually
this
that
doesn't, yeah,
that position will show its face. It'll it, it
yes,
it'll it'll
yes.
it'll
You
rear
can't
ugly
scale.
eventually. You can't scale.
It's not scalable. You can't scale. You're going to
No.
be, and we've been there. I'll be honest with you. I've taken avenues of that, right? We got a
Mm-hmm.
lot going on internally. And you said something the other day is like, hey man, Axel, let's get more pinpoint so we can get these things executed. What you guys aren't sometimes seeing, and I'm guilty of my own demises, there's also things that have to keep occurring to keep the rest of the team busy. We're in that vehicle right now where it's like, I want to say no, but I know what we
Right.
can't let that ship quit sailing, because there's more than just you and me in sales and
Then we're
engineering.
going to get off the
It's
tracks and it's going to be a bad experience for
exactly, you don't
everything.
want
Where,
guys just sitting there when they could be using that time to
yeah,
maximize. So we're kind of doing that right now because of
bridging these
the
gaps.
internal change that's happening. So it's like I have to keep pushing that out, right? And sometimes
Right.
people are like, man, we got a lot going on. It's not just what we see, it's about the whole picture. So it's like we got to juggle certain things to make sure that we're moving in the right direction with everyone's time.
Right.
But I think that the fear of the no, and what I've found is I used to be very fearful to not fulfill. And I'm into a spot now where I'm like, man, the best thing I've ever learned to do is look at someone and say, man, we're not it. And some people are
Yeah.
like, well, what do you mean? There's been times where I literally have to look at someone or talk to a customer and go, listen, you want a quote, right? Yeah, I need one. Cool. It's $1 million. And they look at me and it's like, for one conveyor? I go, yeah.
Yep.
And they go, well, that doesn't work. I go, that's how much I don't want to go on this journey with you, because we don't fit what you need. I'm trying to get you to understand we'll do it, but it's at your expense.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't fit where we're going. And I think that
Or
as
in our
we,
current
you,
state, sometimes
yeah,
you can't take that big bite at the apple, because what does that do on the back end pressure, on other folks in the organization when we have all these other things going on and enhancements that we're trying to improve and trying to, build better relationships, but also better end results and experience. And sometimes if you try to wedge things in there, it's going to derail and it's going to be tough to get things back on the tracks.
yeah. And I think one thing that you and I got, and I'm working on too, is just the ability to not overcommit. You and I get into some. It's actually coming back up, man. We got trade show season, and
Oh,
I'm already like internally. I mean, our team's evolved and stuff, and we're getting a lot of support. But I'm still like, man, here we got this wave, and you and I tend to. I don't know if we overcommit, but sometimes like a perfect storm comes in, and we have all these
yeah.
perfect customers that fit what we do, and we have this. I would say we're overcommitting to truly what we're capable of in a short period of time, because we don't mind slapping on 5 16-hour days over a weekend, but that's actually we're overcommitting what we should be doing to ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and just lay the foundation out a little bit more to be more realistic. But we're learning, right? We're still evolving, and I think but we still got to start setting some better expectations for ourselves so that we can show up better.
Show up
I do.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I get that. I get that, because you can't burn the candle at both ends and still come in and be efficient. You know, you
It's
can't.
hard though, because we get all these unexpected things that all of a sudden it goes from 0 to 100, and out of the just from left field, right? And you and I are like, oh boy, and I think what's happening now is like, hey, listen, these guardrails, this doesn't match. This doesn't match. This
Yeah,
doesn't match.
yeah.
And that's been I'm watching you, I would say mature in your direction is like, man, he's getting it.
Well, and it's like a baseball player, right? I'm not a great
Hmm.
curveball hitter. Am I going to go up there and be swinging at curveballs? No, I'm going to wait for the fastball.
Yep.
And that's and I keep telling myself that. And you're right, the maturity in this industry and what I've learned and where to be delicate and where time is merited, I'm getting a better understanding of when these opportunities arise and where we align and don't align, and
Exactly.
had a prime example yesterday. One of our vendors called me, about a customer actually not too far from me that was needing a new conveyor. And I said, okay, do you have any spec information on that? He goes, no, I don't know a whole lot about it. Why don't you give John a call? So I gave John Brown a call and I said, hey, John, what do you got going on here? Vendor was telling me
Hmm.
about you guys are in the need of a new conveyor. I'm not sure if it aligns with us, based on what I saw on your guys' website and, your organization. But if it's not with us, maybe I can point you in the right direction, and sure enough, it didn't. It was a pretty, light duty, conveyor application. But, I was able to point him in a direction, that where he could go and have a great experience, hopefully fulfill this, this project. And but it didn't align with us, and it was okay to say it's not with us. But hey, by the way, maybe try give these guys a call. They'll be a good resource for you.
Yeah, and you know what, that's a perfect thing, and I think as we keep getting the ability, I think for the viewers, it's like, man, it's like I think one of the best things that I've learned is just um, setting clear boundaries within where we're heading and what I want for us. I've had this dream about you know truly allowing this to be a vehicle for people to never feel how I felt as a kid, honestly, like constrained by resources. And I wanted something that was gonna give to those families and my family, and how we can embrace that honestly. And I think those
Mhm.
boundaries have to be set for me to achieve those, because I'm a fast runner, and there's a lot more going on up here that I want to go do, but I'm also,
There,
if I'm
that
this wide,
hamster is on the wheel 24/7.
we wouldn't be where we're at. I can tell you
No,
that.
I know, and it takes somebody diligent and committed, to push and
Yeah,
elevate.
exactly.
I
So this,
mean,
but the boundary settings, though, I mean, I think that's
yeah.
what it comes down to, is like, you know, uh, setting clear boundaries within yourself, and being okay with that, right? So
Hmm.
we're gonna dive into a quick break, though, guys, and when we get back, we'll kind of roll back into the boundary settings, but hopefully we can kind of uncover a little bit more, Doug, and just
We're done
understand
picking
what
on
that.
me. We're going to you now.
Come on over, man. I bring it on over. But no, guys, we'll be back here in just a little bit, and we appreciate you guys. See you here in a minute. Thanks, everybody. Welcome back.
Are you sleeping?
Boundaries, Doug. Boundaries. I'm always at, like, throw that hand up. I got to do something cool. I know you're jealous, but
Whoop whoop.
two fingers.
Nah.
Um, salute. Hey, boundaries, Doug.
Yeah.
Do you have any? I don't think you do.
Boundaries. Boundaries.
What are
Boundaries.
those? Yes, I can do
Hey,
that. Yes, I can do that. Oh,
we
I'll see you there.
talked
Yeah.
about this before break. We're going to you. How about you have boundaries? Do
Oh,
you have
buddy, no,
boundaries?
dude. I got like 9 squirrels in the top of this joint, so I don't know about that. They kind of go in circles, so I don't know if there's boundaries up there. I
Yeah.
think I call it limitless. I don't know if you've
Well, I
seen that
know
show
there's no
on.
boundaries because you'll send me text messages at 4 in the morning, 9 at night. It's like, go to
Sorry
bed.
about that. Sorry about that.
No, I know. I
I call
know.
it data dumping.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Man, it's great. It's like right now we just got things coming at us.
But
It's
it's
like,
hard when it's top of mind. You want to just, it's like, let me just hit this real quick, and just make everybody aware.
and
I
sometimes I
get
don't
it.
want to lose. I don't want to lose sight of where, sometimes I got a
The
lot
moment.
going on. And it's like, yeah, it's like, what if I forget about that? Right.
Yeah.
I'm my own worst enemy. I feel bad, but sometimes I'm just in the moment. I'm like, man, I gotta, we're volume, man. It's a lot. And thankfully our team's evolved, and there's a lot of people in place now that can run with it, but there's still this oversight that needs to happen until they're really comfortable. Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to get better structure, actually, so they set boundaries with me, to be honest with you, like, because I'm the worst at just boom, just flying everywhere by the seat of my like, I'm everywhere, and I'm actually not
Oh,
creating
100%.
sound processes. I'm not creating sound processes. I'm actually stepping over boundaries that can allow them to be highly efficient, right? And I'll be honest with you, I'm the worst. But I understand that, and it's not. I wouldn't say that I'm doing it out of, like, or trying to ruffle the feathers, or
No, not out of spite. I mean, it's just
yeah.
you live in the moment, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that in that moment where you've committed or obligated to other things, that I've seen it, like when we have meetings with vendors or customers or whatever, and you're a few minutes late, and it's just because you're in this moment in this conversation with someone
Yeah.
else, and it's like, I got to disengage, I got to engage, I committed to this. But and you recognize it though, and you're getting some support, and kind of, because you got a lot going on. Just it's not just selling of conveyors. There's a lot of business dynamics on the back end. There's a lot of development and enhancement, and I mean, it's just a lot of moving parts.
And thinking about you guys and where we're going, and making sure that we're all together, and I'm thinking correctly,
It's
and
all
you guys
staying
are
in
assisting. You're
alignment.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's like this morning, I was up before, man. Just boom. While you guys are taking naps, I'm in there
Nah, I was
methodically
still
getting
sleeping.
going.
I was counting
I
sheep,
know.
buddy.
Toes are twinkling. You're looking like the light. Wait, you don't even need an alarm anymore. It's just look at the light on the phone when Axe is bzz, bzz,
Oh yeah, no, I know, because I put my phone. It's on vibrate always, and I put
flip
it
it.
on the
And,
floor because that thing will start buzzing about 3 o'clock my time, 4 o'clock my time in the morning. Bzz, bzz, bzz. I'm like, oh, he's at it.
oh, oh, he's at it.
He's at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, Doug wakes up, and it's just like silver platter, 7-course meal. Here you
Boundaries.
go. Here you go.
Boundaries.
Yeah. Ooh, let's get
Boundaries.
back to that, boundaries.
Boundaries.
That's so I'll be honest with you, like, I I'm actually working internally on myself of, like, setting. I would say a lot more boundaries in terms of my family and like what I will allow and not allow to be stepped over in my relationship with myself, my wife, my kids, like where
Mhm.
I'm able and vice versa. Like they're setting some stuff like, hey, listen, this isn't acceptable, or this is where we need you and why.
Mhm.
And still, and it's an evolving process. Like I'm always the type that's like, man, there's so much abundance. I'm trying to have this abundance mindset so that we can flourish as a team, but that also creates process issues, streamline issues in terms of like doing too much at once and setting instead of like, I'm trying to force myself with these, like, let's get 5 objectives that are bigger
Exactly.
this quarter and let's
Yeah.
move towards that. And let's look at the end of March and see where we're at, like as a team.
Yeah.
And I think now that we got some key ingredients on the team with people that are actually,
Mhm.
taking ownership and heading, we're not sitting here trying to tell them 15 times the same direction, right? Like that was a boundary. We had someone on our team that's actually going to be gone here soon that I was allowing him to be part of this team, but he was
Mhm.
consistently not aligning consistently. And I just kept making excuses. Man, I don't have time to go find someone else. And what happened is it came to a breaking point
Can't.
where it's like, if I keep allowing these boundaries to be overstepped, I'm being a poor leader, and I'm actually allowing something that doesn't align with our core values and
Yeah.
where we're going as a team.
And
He's
it's
the
what
only
you
one.
permit, you promote,
So I had to, the clear boundaries that I set probably 15 to 20 times over the last few years, I just allowed because it was
broken.
easier than it was easier. Yeah, no, I kept allowing because it's easier than me trying to go fill that gap again. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man, here it is. But now then when you add a team and evolve, I couldn't allow that to happen to other people. So long story short, I'm like, hey, this is your last day and why? And of course that person came back was like, oh man, now they're emotionally disconnect, like
You
thinking
lost
that
the
they're doing the right
trust,
things.
and
Yeah,
that's on
I couldn't.
them. I mean, they broke the trust,
And that person was like, it was unfortunate. They, hey, I got this from my family. I said, listen, here's what I'm going to let you know. It's your job to go back to your family and let them know that you're 100% responsible for this
It's on
outcome.
them.
It
It's on
has
them.
nothing to do with me.
No.
That's a boundary that I set. I gave you the
Mhm.
tools. I asked you what you needed. You didn't fulfill your end of the
Mhm.
obligation. I'm human, but I also set a clear boundary, and I had to fulfill that. And it's actually allowed us to explore and expand our team in that area, and just get into a spot where we're just 100 times better. And
And better
I can see
alignment and
benefit.
trust, and
Yep.
where you can
Yep.
hand off, you can delegate, and you can trust that there's going to be fulfillment, to the committed
Hmm.
date, the time. It takes
Yep.
time, it's but it's also
It was
holding people,
compromising.
but it's holding
Yeah.
people accountable. And once they get used to that accountability and what's
Hmm.
required of them, they know they have to hit these targets. They know the objectives, they know the commitments, and I've
And
worked
I
for
think the biggest
organizations
thing for
where, yeah, I mean, it's you delegate something knowing you want them to tackle it, and wholeheartedly
yeah,
you think they're going to fulfill it, and they let you down, and they
yeah.
let you down
And
again.
then there's nothing, and then there's excuses. What I was finding was it was actually hurting my well being. You know why? It did not align with me. It was a
Hmm.
massive conflict, like 180. And I'm sitting there going, here's where I'm going. And that person's like, yeah, I'll work at it. And then you go another 30, 60 days and they're still going this way. And that gap was getting so big.
Yep.
If I didn't cut that, like it would have exploded, right? Like it was driving me internally. It made me feel anxious and
Yeah,
so now we
it's the
got
old
this.
saying, like my dad used to tell us as kids. He goes, "You can't push a string. Can you pull a string? You can pull a string. You can't push it." If that makes sense, and a lot of those eventually you push and you push. You can't keep. They're not going to react. They're not going to align, and that's okay. They're not the right fit. Next.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing, like, setting clear boundaries, right, as a
Hmm.
unit. And you and I are kind of evolving in that and just trying to get an understanding of like, how do we, I want to still have fun and I still want to shoot the breeze and be competitive because you and we're running a gun. It doesn't need to be 24/7. We need to be able to shoot the breeze, and we do that a lot. But
We talk
there's
shop.
also
We
like,
take time to talk
yeah,
shop. Yeah.
and I think sometimes we're too far with the direction we're going that we just also have to be like, hey man, and we didn't take a break last year. We didn't, Doug had so much going on. We didn't get to take a team break, and that was we're doing it this year. Like that's not an option. Just so you know, it's a boundary that I'm setting. We have to get out as a team, and we have to just go do something
No,
that's
and
not.
it's good to connect. It's good for, us on the sales
Yeah,
side to just, sit down and create some synergy and collectiveness of where we all play a vital role, in our positions. And I remember when we did that, not last year, but the year before, and walked out of there going, gosh, okay, that was awesome. We got time together. We got to talk about, you know, business dynamics and where we want to go and where we play a role and a part in the better good of, all of us getting to the finish line together. And this year
and also got to hang out
it's
and just
tough.
talk about life too. It
Yeah.
wasn't just
No, it
you know,
wasn't
and I
just
think that's
business,
one
but
thing. Yeah, I think that's one thing we got to just work on is just setting some boundaries and priorities in ourselves. Because, like I told you the other day, I was like, man, it's Doug, you're really sick. And I'm like, Doug, guess what, man?
oh yeah.
Tomorrow, it's not going to change. I go, you might be, there might be a few days, but set that
Yeah.
priority to yourself. Like, I need to make myself feel better and don't feel guilty, right? Like, and this is one thing I'm watching you is like, I know internally you're like, you are like anxious because you're the type that's like, oh my gosh, man, I got so much to do. There's so
These
much
things
coming. I
come
mean,
and go.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm going, Doug, guess what, man? Tomorrow
That
we're gonna wake up, and if you let those 3 days go, guess what? There's three more ahead of you, and it's okay. And I was trying to let you know, like, I'm not worried about it. If I'm not worried about it, I don't know why you're worried about it. Because
it's just internally, when it
yeah,
comes to those things and and customers are reaching out for us for help and support. And the last thing I want is a negative reflection. I want
yeah.
to be responsible. It's just internal,
But you
but
know what? You should have done. But get an authentic reaction, and you're gonna get empathy, right?
yeah,
Which you
which
did.
which I did, which I did with the
Yes,
number. A number of folks were like, "Oh man, get
yes,
better. Just get with me when you get back."
exactly.
And it's because we're all human. We all know we've all been in those positions where you're sick and the last thing you want to think about is work and what you have going on. You're just like, oh my gosh, I want to feel better. That's all I want.
So this comes down to the biggest growth area of Doug,
Oh
being a
boy.
people pleaser. Oh, Doug. Yes, Doug. Doug never says no. And that internal, right, man, like that was kind of like I was actually kind of liking it. I'm like, dude, he can't move and he has to sit here and be
Oh, just
watching
take
this happen in
take the
front of him
darts
and just
coming right
take
at
it.
me.
Yeah,
Oh
just
my
taking it, and he
gosh.
can't do anything. It was actually funny in my mind. I was like, watch him grow
I
because
don't
and
like
just
this one. This is a beatdown session on me. I can't wait till we get a
no, dude.
real good topic where I can just grind on you.
No, it's all right.
But
No,
no,
dude, it was
it's
great. I mean,
true.
just you are a people pleaser. It has nothing to do with me, man. It's you. That's just who you
I
are.
know, and I've heard it from multiple people. My dad and I were having some. My dad and I have some of the deepest conversations. It's awesome,
Hmm.
and we talk about all kinds of things. And he, this was about a month or two ago, and he goes, your problem is, he goes, you're too much of a people pleaser. He goes, you
Hundred
won't say
percent.
no. You always commit. If somebody needs something, he goes, you're the first one to say yes. And I go, oh my gosh, he's right. Oh shoot. And then a lot of times it's, you know, my family winds up sacrificing because I have to make changes or plans that I had maybe, on the docket for them to go help with this or
Yeah.
help with that. And I've gotten better at it. A real good friend of mine, his wife, she's a VP of a pretty predominant home development.
She's a VP of the only blockbuster left in the United States.
Right here in Bend, Oregon.
she,
No, no. But my wife went to dinner with her here. I think I mentioned this on a prior episode here of Never in Reverse. But her line is, "I can't commit to that right now."
yeah.
That's
Oh
not
man.
saying no, but you're just setting the precedent that I
Yeah.
can't commit. And
Yeah.
when my wife came home and she told me that, and I went, "Oh my gosh, that I need to put that in my tool bag." I need to be able to tell
Sometimes the
people I
let
can't.
towns, Doug, are the best, dude. Sometimes you have to let others down to expand yourself. You
Yeah,
have to,
yeah.
but I think one thing, just thinking back about your journey in life, man, it's you almost have this internal fear, I think, from the way that you're raised with moving so much and insecurity around that you're not enough, dude.
Yeah,
and
because
you have to reset and
you're
your
always, yeah,
friends
I
and you
was always trying to reset and make new friends
yes,
and trying to, yeah. And maybe it is a lot of, kind of some of those things I went through in my adolescence and growing up and always
yeah,
having to reinvent myself, right?
yes.
Which is hard,
And I
but
would say, I mean, and those sometimes, I would say that when you mature, the insecure means like back then you're not okay with it. You shake the hands with it now, and you realize that that's just who you are, and you want to
yeah.
potentially strive to hopefully become better of that. But those insecurities turn into more of a like a habitual thing or an internal response that
Mm-hmm.
you're not
100%.
necessarily. It's a subconscious. I used to remember when I was in my mid 20s, and I was like, man, there's just things I was unsure of within myself that created self doubt and that feeling internally is like, man, but when you get older, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
listen, that's right, that was me. I can shake hands with it, like, and realize that it's okay that you're reacted that way. It might not be the best thing for you at that ever, but you can actually shake hands with it, not be like, I don't want to talk about it, or it's just easier when you're more mature, right? Like
Yeah.
you're not
Well, and it's
insecure about it. It's just
experience.
kind of drag. Yeah, exactly. You're going, hey man, that is who I am, and I definitely need to be able to set that boundary that your friend said. Like, listen, I can't commit to that right now. When you went hunting a few months ago, and you're like, Ax, I go, do it. And your wife, you were trying to make every excuse in the book through your wife, but
Yeah,
you committed. You finally
yeah.
set a boundary, but she was pushing you, and you got to. It's not necessarily about you doing that stuff, but you got to think about like, man, we were going on a 14 days straight, literally over the
Shoot, we
weekends.
were on the road
I don't know if we,
hard.
yeah,
Hard.
yeah.
And we knew when I got back, we were back on the road again.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's, yeah, you got to take those times to just breathe,
And
you know.
sometimes the internal stuff, like a letdown that the customer might perceive as they're letting me down, is actually the best choice for you and them, and or your friends or your family,
Hmm.
because if you're just going to go there to be present in your body, you're physically there but you're not there because you can't
Wholeheartedly,
commit to
not,
more,
yeah.
then what's the point? Like, cool, I'm there physically and I'm half in.
You're
I'll
getting
be
me
like,
empty. Yeah.
I've done that with my wife. I've done that with my family. I've done it with friends. I've done it all over the place, and I'm still working through. Like, hey, man, if
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there, like, commit to being there, or just don't even show up. And
Hmm.
my wife is like, hey, are you gonna be here? She'll still do it. Oh, you're right. I mean,
Yeah.
what am I gonna say? I used to defend it, like, yeah, but one more thing, or yeah, but this. I'm serious. Like, I used to be like, you know, making excuses and defending my own actions and letting them down, and actually it was the worst choice. But now it's like she's like let down here to make a better choice,
Right.
right? Like it's
Right.
the betterment of, and what I found is like there is a correlation of family and marriage and work and how you feel, right? So if I show up 100% doing X, but I'm not showing up to my marriage and stuff and bringing, maybe I'm letting my internal belief system down, but in turn, my wife's seeing a bigger picture of what this looks like. She just told me this morning, hey, Jeremy, are you going to sleep more than 6 hours? She texts me. She goes, you were up this morning early again. You went to bed late. And I'm like, she's like, that's probably not what you should be doing. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, it's probably, back to back days, not getting a lot of sleep. I think five
Well,
hours
because
and
she
6
now
hours.
she knows you're gonna. If you don't take care of yourself, you're not gonna be present, and you're gonna be empty come the weekend when it's time for family. You know.
So focus on the priorities, uh,
Hmm.
not just what men typically do is like we're providers. Well, what does that mean? Like we've talked about this prior in previous episodes. Like, yeah, we're providers, but that is also when
Hmm.
you have a family and marriage, like that shift, and with friends, it just changes.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out how to. I was never really taught how to truly be present outside of myself, how I like what I have to say, and really trying to figure out
Well, you lived in
how to be a
survival
great
mode.
listener.
You
Oh
lived in
man.
survival mode. So I mean, it's like I'm. If you're on the tracks, I'm knocking you off. Get out of my way. I mean, and I know you and your personality very well. We've known each other for a number of years, and I mean, you've just been geared that way. And I could see where your wife is like, hey, I need you to connect here. I need you on this side here. You
Work in
gotta
progress.
put that down. Put that down. It can wait.
Wor-
You know.
Hey, work in progress. To be honest with you, it's
Yeah.
it's a work in progress. It's a big shift for me, and
Well, it's
I'm
40 years
far
of
from
rewiring.
man, I got so much work to do. I'm the last 12 months is probably the biggest amount of growth that I can tell you that I've had inside of that. But I'm still like, if I was so far that
Mhm.
it's like, it's not even close to being
Yeah.
like regulated, but I'm
But you
trying
recognize it
to,
and you're working on it. And I've seen some of the things. I mean, you and I share a lot of personal moments, of like
yeah.
kids and fishing and, you going to Estes Park and taking those times with the family. And I'm happy to see you do it. I mean, because you got a beautiful family and they need you too, you know,
So
you know.
I think just to, in this episode or this episode, I think what we should just, just given it's okay to say no, guys. It's okay to set clear boundaries. I think that you can inspire people through actions and just, but setting baselines to give yourself and your family and
Mhm.
your friends and everyone around you a better moment of yourself. And, you know, uh, that's something that I'm striving towards, right? Like, let's all keep pushing towards, not using it as goal setting, using it as execution to bring, more value to your life and not just being so singulated in what
Fragmented.
men are,
Yeah.
and men are just like guns ablazing on providing. And I think we just got to start trying to figure out how to start filling more buckets and using, you know, this as a vehicle, right? Like let other men listen in and understand that, hey man, it's okay. You're okay. You're okay to feel these things, right? Like, I think that we're all kind of men are loose. They're quiet in this stuff, and I think that it's okay to keep pushing and understand that the act of saying no and setting boundaries and whatever that looks like, it could be food, it could be alcohol, it could be your friendships, it could be, your family, it could be
Hmm.
a lot of
Hmm.
things that
A
you
lot
want
of
to build this
dynamics.
structured lifestyle around. So just keep pushing yourself and see what the next, see what 2025 looks like for you guys. And hopefully you guys can take a little bit out of this episode and we're open to, comments and feedback. We're still learning, guys. So any experience sharing is something that
Oh
we'd love
yeah.
to engage with you guys on. And if you guys want to leave comments, we're on YouTube. We're on YouTube, X, Instagram,
All of them.
LinkedIn.
How about that?
I don't even know that. Well, we were on TikTok, but then Trump took TikTok down. And now I think it's back
Yeah,
up.
it's
So I think we
back.
got a window. We're
Then I
back.
heard there's a new social media platform that just launched for people that are tired of Facebook. I can't keep up with this stuff. My
Yeah,
kids keep me informed. I
Doug. We
mean,
have a hard time shooting content. So let's let the team do what
yeah,
they do, not us. So,
gosh.
but anyways, guys, connect with us outside of that, guys. We'd love to engage with you guys and create some relationships with you guys. And we really appreciate you guys diving into this episode. And click like and subscribe on YouTube. Engage with us. And again, any feedback is
Tune in
welcome.
next time.
We're
I'm grinding on Jeremy. I'm hopeful.
open up, guys.
Come at him.
Appreciate y'all. Take care.
Thank you.
Never in reverse. And see you guys next time. Thanks so much.
Thanks.